No. Just going. Okay.
And you got to speak up.
Okay. The first question is, how old were you during the Great Depression?
Well, I was born in 27, but the Depression was 32, 33. When was it?
It was in the 30s.
I know. 30 is 10 years, though.
Now remember, Jack, what you're going to say is going to be in her classroom.
I know that.
That's all right.
But yeah, it was just all.
I think
it
the
was
Depression
all
was in the early
30s.
30s, and I was born in 27, so I was about 6 years old.
Okay.
I do remember a little something about it, but not a whole lot.
Um.
Talk loud and look at him so I can see you.
What? Okay. Do you remember how many family members you lived with during it? Well, I hope you would
How
remember.
many people
but...
were in your family?
There was 10 of us. Counting my mother and daddy, there was 8 of us children, and my mother and daddy, it was 10.
Um. What were ways that y'all saved money during the Great Depression?
My daddy was a tenant farmer, and most of what he made went to the man that owned the land, so we didn't get very much out of it. But we raised corn and cotton mostly.
What was your living situation like? Did you have a big house? Like,
No, the house
explain
was
that
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rooms,
all together.
and one of them was the entrance hall, so it wasn't very big.
How many people per room were there? Like, did y'all all live in the same room?
Well, no.
Like, sleep in the same
How
room?
many bedrooms did you have for the 10 people?
Oh, 3. I slept in a room with my mama and daddy, and sometimes one of my sisters did. Now, I had one brother he left about the start of the Depression. So that left 7 of us kids. And
Um,
we slept 3 in a bed.
mm, what was something that you saw every day? Like, what was normal for you to see?
What do you mean?
Like, was it normal for you to go out and help your dad?
Oh, yes, yes, we all helped our dad. Even my mother, along about then, as many of us were, it took most of her time cooking for that many people to eat.
And y'all worked out in the fields most
Oh,
of
yes.
the time, right? I mean, that's what you did every day.
Yeah, oh yes, we worked out in the field from daylight to dark.
You got to tell them.
I was a water boy mostly because I wasn't big enough to plow. I carried water.
Tell me the water story again.
Yeah, and I carried a jug of water out to the field to each one of the workers wherever they was working at. It all depended on what time of the year it was, whether we was plowing or planting or gathering. But
You had chickens and pigs and calves.
of course, we plowed early in the year, planted corn about April, and tried to what we call lay it by. That means plow it the last time by July the 4th. That's what we call by laying by. That's you laid your crop by when you plowed it the last time.
Was that giving the land a rest, or?
Well, no. We raised corn for 10 years on the same 55 acres. And of course, it's the only land we had. But we did learn, my daddy did learn that with planting the same thing on the same ground year after year, you wear the ground out. Because the corn didn't make near as much the last year as it did the first year.
Do you want the water story?
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me about when you got in trouble with the water.
Oh, what? That's our tale?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was See, we used to live down there at this time when the Depression happened. We lived down in what we call the Ditch Lane. There's an old house down there. That's about halfway between here and Eagleville. And at the time that she's talking about the water boy, we had already moved to Rockvale. And that's all I did was carry water for 3 of my brothers and my daddy. And I had to walk nearly a half a mile across some fields to get it. The man's barn, he had a pump in his barn. And I had a gallon jug, and I was a little bitty fellow really. And that gallon jug was heavy. And it started lightning and thundering. And I poured out a little bit. Then I would try to run, and I'd pour out a little bit more. And the first thing I know, I poured it all out, and I took off to the field. Well, 3 of my brothers had already got all the mules and horses and headed out for the barn, and my daddy was waiting for me to get a drink of water. When I got there, I didn't have no water. And if it hadn't been lightning and thundering, I know what I would have got, but it was lightning and thundering, and we was in a hurry to get to the house. And the old house that we used to live in, that's where we went. And we stayed in that while it was raining, had the teams, horses put up in the barn, and we stayed there while it was raining. And people think I'm crazy, but back in them days, when it would rain for at least 2 hours. We would lay down on the floor and sleep for 2 hours. Nowadays, if it rains 15 minutes, you had a big rain, but back in them days.
Make sure that that's not going.
Yes, during the Depression, we did live there on the Ditch Lane, though. We raised corn and 55 acres of corn. We worked for this man. We cleaned up, my dad and my family cleaned up this 55 acres of woods. It was woods. A man had a sawmill there, cutting wood, cutting timber. And my daddy made a deal with the man that owned the place. We would clean the fields up, and he would give us the first 3 years' crop that we made. And my daddy did all the work, but we cut the trees down and he hauled them over to the sawmill, and this man that owned the sawmill sawed the timber up and sold the timber, the wood, the lumber, and he kept the money. We didn't get none of the money, but of course that saved us a lot of work, you know, us, because we would have had to got rid of the wood somehow or another, and we would have burned it. Set it apart and burned it. It's the only way we had to get rid of it. But I remember that part. And I remember times were so bad. There one time I helped my daddy. I was a little bitty fellow, but I was big enough to have a scoop. Load up a wagon load of corn one night. And he took off the next day with it. And he come back that afternoon, and he had traded that load of corn for a little old bitty pig. He wasn't hardly big as nothing. And we raised plenty of corn, so we raised plenty of hogs. And we killed hogs in November. And we had plenty of hog meat. And during the summer, we would go to the blackberry patch and pick blackberries, and my mama would can them and make jam. But we didn't go hungry. We didn't
And you had a big garden.
have rich people's stuff, but we had plenty to eat.
Did you have a garden?
Oh yeah, we had a garden. Always had a garden.
What'd you grow in the garden?
So all kinds of vegetables, beans, butter beans, peas, okra, sweet potatoes, Irish potatoes. And, okra. And
Did y'all have chickens too?
we always had at least 100 laying hens. Now the eggs we got from those hens is what bought the groceries that we had to buy.
Do you where did you go to school, and like what all did you like learn about in school?
I went to Rockvale. It was the Rockvale, what they call Rockvale High School. Then it was grammar school and high school. And this school started in Rockville the year I was born, 1927. And it was done away with in 1972. A new building was built, to put it that way. But as far as what I learned, I didn't learn very much. But just like any school, just reading, writing, and arithmetic, geography, and history. My favorite was history and geography.
Why was that your favorite? Why was it your favorite?
I don't know, just more interesting to me. I mean, I like to learn about places and things like that.
When the Great Depression was going on, did you hear anything about the Dust Bowl happening in the middle of the U.S.?
We didn't hear very much news because we did not have a radio, and of course television had been invented back in them days, and we didn't have a radio then, so we didn't hear very much news. We got a newspaper, and that's the only place we got news, except when somebody come by and talk. And of course I couldn't read, so I didn't.
And did you go anywhere during the Great Depression? Like during those times, did you travel?
No.
At all?
No. Went to the store, about 2 miles away.
Did y'all ever go to Oklahoma during the Dust Bowl?
We went to Oklahoma in 29.
Okay.
But that was before the Depression.
Did you by any chance know anybody that lived in the states that were affected by the Dust Bowl?
Not really.
Were your friends' lives impacted heavily during the Great Depression? Like, were there any friends that went through it really hard?
Well, I'd say everyone that lived around us was as poor as we were. And you didn't talk about it because you didn't have nothing, so you didn't worry about it. I say we didn't have nothing. We had a big family. And my daddy worked awful hard to raise all of us and raise us right. He tried to.
How old was your mom and dad during the Great Depression?
Ooh. Well, my dad was born in 84, and my mama was born in 1986. So
1886.
1884 and 1886. So this in 30, they would have been, what, had been in the 40s.
Oh, wow.
Jack was born when his mama was 40 or 41, so they were in their 40s.
Okay. What food was available during that time?
What?
What food? And, like, what wasn't available?
Well, like I say, we raised everything we had to eat, except bought a few things. Now, vegetables, we raised all our vegetables. And my daddy, we would shell corn and put it in a sack. And the man that drove the milk truck would haul milk to the creamery, to the milk plant in Murfreesboro. He would haul our corn into a mill there in Murfreesboro, and they would grind it up in the mill, and he would haul it back. And same way with, of course, we bought flour. We didn't have any wheat to make flour, but we made had our own meal ground. No, it was rough back in them days, but like I said, didn't nobody else have nothing, so you didn't worry about it.
If you didn't work on, like, a farm or anything, what jobs did the people have?
I don't know.
Tell me about city people. Did they have it rougher than country?
Did the city people have it rougher than the country?
I would say so, because they did not have most of them did not have no place for a garden, and most of them didn't have any transportation, and they couldn't get out in the country and pick strawberries and things like that. But also back in also back in those days, out in the woods, you would find orchards. You would find pear orchards, peach orchards, and that, apple orchards. Now, how they got started, I do not know. But we knew, my daddy knew where there was some at, and that's where we got a whole lot of our fruit. Our fruit canned.
And they hunted for food.
Did y'all hunt too?
Yeah.
What'd y'all hunt for?
Anything. Hunt for rabbits to eat.
Were y'all lucky getting food hunting?
Oh, well, yeah, we live where there's plenty of animals. But then back in them days, you could sell fur. You could sell possums and skunks and foxes and things, and you could skin them and send the fur off to F.I. Taylor in St. Louis and get you some Christmas money. Of course, my brothers could. Like I said, now I was too young for all that, but my older brothers could.
Do you remember a
But
time?
one thing about that hunting now, you had to be, I would say, at least 12 to 13 years old before my daddy would let you handle a gun. And then he would have to be with you. The kids didn't just pick up guns and run around with them, not in our house.
But you all had a pocket knife.
Did y'all have pocket knives? All of y'all?
Yes, we had pocket knives.
And slingshots.
We had.
What did the children do for entertainment?
They made their own entertainment. They got out and just made up whatever they wanted to play with.
They went fishing.
What did,
Get an old stick and ride it like a horse and all that kind of stuff.
And they fished too for food.
did you fish a lot? Did you fish a lot?
Yeah. Now, the only toy that I can remember getting back in them days was me and my brother Sam. We got a coaster wagon for Christmas. And I don't remember ever getting any, maybe a little old wagon or something other, but we didn't get toys back in them days. If you got, the only thing you got in your stocking was fruit. That's fruit. And luckily we got that. Because my daddy would go up to the Concord store, bought the stuff on the credit. We bought everything on the credit until we sold our corn. Then he would take the money and go up and pay the man at the store. All the country grocery stores, that's how they did. They charged things to everybody. Then when the crops were sold, these people come in and paid up. And of course, a whole lot of the store owners didn't get all their money back. A lot of them couldn't afford to pay it.
No, I had one under.
Did you ever think that the Depression would end?
Well, at my age, the Depression didn't mean nothing to me, really.